I'm not that old for you.
I never thought it would all start with a cup of tea. I came over to Liam's place after practice, like usual. We were just hanging out in his room, joking around, watching highlights from the game. His mom, Mrs. Carla, was always there in the background, wearing casual clothes, smelling faintly of vanilla and coffee. She was one of those young moms that friends either teased or openly talked about. Me? I tried not to think about her at all. But that night, Liam stepped out, literally just for 5 minutes to the store, and I was left alone in the living room. Mrs. Carla came in from the kitchen with 2 cups of tea. One was for me. "You must be tired after the game, huh?" she said, sitting down on the couch next to me, much closer than usual. "A little," I answered, avoiding the sudden weight of her gaze. Then silence. Not awkward, but different. I could feel her warm knee almost brushing against mine. She turned to the TV, took a sip, and calmly said, "You know, I'm not that old for you." That was the moment. The instant something clicked. A realization that hit me out of nowhere but felt like it had been building for a long time. Her voice wasn't joking. It was real, a little husky but confident. Goosebumps ran down my skin. I laughed, nervously. "Oh, come on." She just smiled, not breaking eye contact. And it wasn't the look of a friend's mom. It was a woman's look. Confident, knowing, dangerous. After that night, everything changed. Every time I came over, I could feel her presence. Her scent. Her touch, seemingly accidental. When she handed me a towel or brushed my shoulder as she passed by. Her eyes would linger just a half-second too long. She knew exactly what she was doing. And I knew it was driving me crazy. There was one moment I'll never forget. We accidentally crossed paths in the hallway. I was coming out of the shower. She was heading into the bathroom. Her hand brushed my forearm. She stopped for a moment, looked me in the eye, said nothing. But everything was said. That brief pause between touch and stepping away. It stayed with me for days. I fought it, every time telling myself, this is wrong. She's my friend's mom. This could ruin everything. But desire doesn't listen to logic. It lives in looks, in silence, in half-smiles and unfinished words. And you know what confused me the most? I felt like she was waiting for me to make the first move. The next time I came over was almost by accident, or at least that's what I told myself. Liam was late again, this time stuck at the gym. I showed up early to check on his knee after the game, but honestly, I couldn't get Carla out of my head. Her phrase kept spinning in my mind like a broken record. She opened the door. In workout leggings and a thin tank top, her wet hair tied up in a bun. "Your best friend ditching you again, so I become your babysitter?" She smiled, stepping aside to let me in. I wanted to joke back, but inside everything in me froze. That simple, homey image somehow had a stronger effect than any fancy evening dress. "I don't mind the supervision," I blurted out before I could stop myself. She turned sharply toward me and froze for a moment. Then, she smiled. Not like a mom, not like an acquaintance, like a woman who just heard exactly what she wanted from a man. We sat in the kitchen. She was making tea and we were silent. The tension was growing, but not awkward anymore. It was like electricity between 2 fingertips almost touching. Then, the kettle clicked, and she turned around, setting a cup right in front of me. In her eyes was something I hadn't seen before. Confidence, calm, and expectation. "You know Liam won't forgive this," she whispered, almost casually. "I know," I answered, roughly, honestly. Then silence. A look, a little longer. Her hand touched mine, and this time she didn't pull away. "If you don't stop me now, I won't stop myself," she said. I didn't stop. She slowly stepped closer, leaned in, and I could feel her breath near my ear. Her hand barely touched my face, resting at my cheekbone. Then she said, "I'm not asking you to promise anything. Just let me feel like I can still be wanted." It wasn't about sex. It was about something deeper, born in looks, in the silence between words, in that same cup of tea where it all began. That night, nothing happened. We sat on the couch next to each other, closer than before. She rested her head on my shoulder. I traced her fingers. And it was the most intimate thing I had ever experienced. But I knew this was just the beginning. The next day, Liam called me himself calm, carefree. He invited me over again to hang out and play FIFA, joking that Mom likes you better than she likes me. I laughed nervously. When I arrived, Carla was already home. But this time she was different. Controlled, composed, like she had built a wall around herself. No extra looks, no hints. Just a faint smile when our fingers accidentally touched while passing a plate of chips. I was supposed to leave early, but Liam fell asleep right on the couch and she offered to drive me home. We were silent in the car. Her hands gripped the wheel tightly. Her eyes fixed straight ahead. "Are you scared?" she finally asked without turning toward me. I stayed silent. That would be logical. You're young. You have your whole life ahead. And me, just a failed marriage and a son who suspects nothing. "I'm not scared," I said quietly. "I just don't know what to do with this." She slammed on the brakes. We stopped on an empty street. She turned off the engine and looked at me. "Don't do anything with it. Just let me be close. Even a little. Even sometimes." Then, without waiting for permission, she reached out and ran her fingers down my neck, so gently like she was touching something she was afraid to lose. I leaned in. Our lips met. It was quick. Hesitant. Like a theft you commit on yourself. But when I opened my eyes, she had already turned away, starting the car again. "Forget it. It was a mistake," she whispered. I was silent. But inside everything screamed. Because I knew it wasn't a mistake. It was a truth we both didn't know how to bear. For almost a week after that night, we didn't see each other. I didn't come to Liam's and he didn't insist. Carla didn't text. But something inside me shifted. No, it didn't disappear, it only deepened. Like my whole world had moved and now its center of gravity was somewhere between her eyes and her silence. Friday. Around 9 at night, a message from Carla. "Are you home?" "Yes. Liam's gone to his dad's for the weekend. I'm scared to be alone. I want you to come." I almost ran there. I knew I was making a mistake. But those words, "I want you to come," echoed in my head like a mantra that destroyed all doubts. She opened the door in a simple cotton robe, dark gray, slipping slightly off one shoulder. Her hair was undone. No makeup. But I had never seen her more beautiful. The room smelled of wine and vanilla. "Hi," she said almost in a whisper. "I thought you wouldn't come." I looked at her silently. She stepped closer. Her hand touched my chest. Her fingers lingered on the collar of my t-shirt. "If you leave now, I'll understand," she said. "But I won't forget." I didn't leave. I don't remember who started it first. It all happened slowly, yet like a storm breaking loose. Her lips were warm, almost trembling. She breathed fast but said nothing. Only her eyes, big, dark, a little wet, looked at me as if asking, "Are you sure?" And I was. Her skin was soft, warm. I traced my fingers along her back, her collarbones, the line of her jaw. She responded with every movement, body, not words. When we lay together, tangled in sheets, she stayed silent for a long time, only tracing my hand as if she wanted to memorize every touch. "We crossed the line," she whispered, staring at the ceiling. "I don't regret it," I said. She smiled faintly. But there was something dangerous in that smile. Because now everything had changed. The next morning we woke up before dawn. She lay with her back to me, pressed close, and I felt every breath she took. We barely spoke, as if words were unnecessary. Only silence, warmth, touch. Everything felt unreal, like a dream that would vanish if you tried to name things aloud. But reality was waiting outside the door. "You have to leave before morning comes," she whispered. I nodded, though I didn't want to go. "We can't do this again." It was a mistake. But as I got dressed, her eyes told a different story. It wasn't a mistake. It was what she had been waiting for. And so had I. We tried to keep our distance. For a few weeks, it felt like a survival game, accidental meetings, short phrases, avoiding eye contact. But something was changing. Subtle but unstoppable. She started texting me more often at night, pretending to ask something. She showed up where she wasn't supposed to be. Stood a little too close. Touched my shoulder when she laughed. Her gaze lingered too long. Then one evening, Liam and I were watching a movie at his place. She walked past us wearing a tight sweater, no bra. A quick good evening, but her eyes met mine for a moment, and in them was something we could no longer ignore. Later, she brought us tea. When I took the mug, her fingers brushed mine, longer than they should have. I could barely breathe. Liam didn't notice a thing. After the movie, I was about to leave. She walked me to the door, as usual. But in the hallway, she whispered again. "I can't pretend this isn't important anymore." She touched my face, and this time the initiative was all hers. Her lips were warm, demanding. Her breath shaky, sharp. "Come tomorrow." In the evening. I'll be alone. The next night, I stood outside her door like a kid on a first date, tense, a little lost, and completely excited. She opened the door in a simple robe tied at the waist. Her hair was up, but a few strands had escaped and brushed her cheek. She looked like something forbidden, almost sacred in her dangerous beauty. "I thought you wouldn't come," she said softly. I couldn't bear not to. And we didn't hold back anymore. This time it was slow. Her touches became more confident, like a woman who no longer plays hide and seek. Her kisses deeper, longer. She explored me as if she wanted to memorize every detail just in case it ended suddenly. When we lay together under a thin blanket, she stared at the ceiling and suddenly whispered, "I'm afraid I won't be able to stop." I took her hand. "Then don't." We became cautious. Every meeting was like a covert operation. Times when Liam wasn't home. Walks in a different neighborhood. Messages that disappeared. But despite everything, it was no longer just desire. It was deeper. I knew how she took her tea with 3 spoons of sugar, though she said just 1. I knew she listened to jazz when cleaning and that she kept an old perfume bottle in the bathroom because it held memories. We didn't just touch bodies, we touched each other's stories. But danger was catching up. One time, we didn't make it. Liam came back earlier than expected. I managed to slip out the back door, but in Amy's eyes there was something new, panic. We're risking everything. But the next day she texted, "I'll wait. And you know this isn't just physical. I'm not pretending it's temporary anymore." I read the message dozens of times. And I knew there was no way back. The last few weeks, we lived in a time zone between fear and thrill. Our meetings became rare, but each one was like the last drop of rain before a drought. And every time I left, she held my gaze longer than she should have. Silently. Without words. But I knew she wasn't just missing me, she was hesitating. One night, after another such night, I was about to leave. Dawn was coming. Liam would wake in a few minutes. I stood in the hallway putting on my shoes when she came up behind me, placed her hand on my back, and quietly whispered, "What if I say I want to start over, but honestly? No hiding, no fear? Just us." I turned around and looked into her eyes. For the first time, they weren't tense or anxious, they were clear. Free. I'd say I've been waiting for this for a long time. We didn't know what would come next. We had no plan. But that morning, she didn't lock the door behind me for the first time. She just stood in the doorway, barefoot, holding a mug of coffee, watching me walk away. And it seemed to me she would wait. Not just for me, but for the new her. For the new us. What happened after? That's another story. But one thing I know for sure, some things begin with a simple touch and stay with you forever.